Hello. Okay, so it's 1:30, and I guess we can kick things off and just like give people a bit more time to trickle in. But welcome everyone. I hope you all had a great weekend, especially for the people savoring the tail end of summer. Thank you for joining us today. And for those watching this from the recording, we hope you're also having a good time like we are all about to with our speaker today. So while we're waiting for folks to hop on, let me introduce myself. I'm Sisa. I'm the new community lead at Softr. And that being said, I'd love to get to know you all. So in the chat, please tell us where you're joining from. If you're comfortable, share what you're building and tell us if you're new to Softr. Have you been one of us as a customer, or are you somewhere in between, still trying to figure out what you're trying to build? This is probably the perfect workshop for you, and we're all happy to hear from to have you here today. So I see we have people from the south of Spain, Raul, Ali from Egypt. Everybody else, feel free to drop your location. Please don't give your exact location. General locations are fine. What are you building, or what are you planning to build? And how are you involved with software? We have Nathan from Colorado, and he is building client portals. I'm just reading these out loud, so later on, we have a meet and greet after. And if you find anyone interested building something interesting, maybe you could also collaborate on that idea. You never know. So we have Sylvie from Montreal, Canada. I'm also in Canada. I'm in Toronto. And Sylvie is building an online school. We have Noman. No, I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly, but Noman is joining from Pakistan. He's a product manager, exploring no-code app building, and he's new to software. We have Spain, India, Portugal. That is awesome. Okay, we'll just wait for a few more people, and then we can get started. Building a portal for chemistry education. Wow, I'm so curious now how deep of chemical engineering this this portal will go. Okay. All right. I want to thank our speaker for joining us today this early. It is 5:30 a.m. where she is today. So let's bring the energy to the chat. Let us be her caffeine for this wonderful, wonderful Monday. It's Tuesday there now, is it? No.
Yep, it's Tuesday morning, 5:30 a.m.
Yes. Okay. Really appreciate you being here today. All right. So we have someone from Aberdeen, Scotland, exploring no-code solutions for digital transformation of small and medium businesses. That sounds like the perfect use case for software. Olivier? Yes. Okay. Okay, so if you are new to Softr, let me tell you about it, because Softr is an amazing no-code platform that helps you easily, and I mean easily, create apps and internal tools with powerful integrations from different data sources like Airtable, Google Sheets, and many more to come. All sorts of automations and with AI capabilities to boot. So what sets our platform apart is its block by block no-code approach, making it accessible to a wide range of users. So now that we know that it's more than easy to create your own powerful tools and platforms, how do you decide on what to build? How do you define an idea that is worth the effort and has a higher potential of success? Or if you're building software products for others, how do you communicate those opportunities to digitize their operations with custom built solutions? Just like the many, many things our speaker has worked on today, I don't have the answers to those questions, but it is my pleasure to introduce you to our speaker who has the answers. Shenal Harakh has worked with startups around the world to launch powerful tech products that enable them to achieve their goals and grow. She has been on a roll in the software community these last few weeks, from community member of the month, on top of being an official software expert and a training partner as a mentor to accelerators like Techstars Australia. She's previously worked for firms like PwC and Ernst & Young in Australia, Bermuda, and New York City, worldwide in operational audit and consulting, and founded 2 edtech platforms which are funded by MIT's Student Accelerator. No big deal. Her work is at the intersection of startups, operations, and no code development, providing a unique perspective on building business for growth. I am so pumped. I'm ready. If you're all ready, I'm going to turn the mic over to Shenal. And if you have any questions, drop it in the chat at any time, and we'll moderate and try to find a space to answer them all. So here we are, turning the mic over to you, Shenal.
Thank you so
Take
much.
this down.
That was so much great energy. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen and we'll get this going. Feel free to send through any questions. Lisa, I might just ask you to relay them to me while I'm sharing my screen.
Of course.
Alrighty. Can you see my slides?
Not yet. Now we can. Yes.
Awesome. So everyone, thank you so much for attending this workshop wherever you are around the world. I'm so grateful that you're part of the no-code community. You're looking to build. That really excites me to see people who wouldn't interact with software. I'm really getting in there and trying to create things in this world. So this workshop will practically deconstruct how I go about helping someone understand their business processes, moving it online, and then looking at what they've built and understanding, how do I help this to grow my business? So how do I step out of the tech and really look towards my business goals? A little bit about me, like Cisa mentioned, I used to work in operational auditing and consulting, absolutely hated it. And so got into no code really to help me build and find a way out of that career. And so I built a few MVPs for some startups that I was working on at the time. And whilst I was building these things, I realized I was iterating really fast and much faster than most of my other colleagues who were using traditional engineering. And I fell in love with the process of development. So then I switched to developing, and now that's my full-time career. And so now my work is not only at with development, but I work in the middle of these 3 areas. So I help people understand their full operational processes, how it will help them reach their startup goals, communicate to investors, etc., and then also practically build out the software solution for them as well. And so I started on tools like Bubble, Wix, etc., and now I full-time am on Softr and Airtable only, because it really is geared towards ops. And because it's so easy to use, I can focus a lot more on the business side of things as well. At the end of this workshop, I would love for you to feel more confident in your product as a business person. And so this workshop is not really going to be technical. It's not going to be theoretical. Hopefully it'll give you some practical takeaways that you can immediately implement after this call, regardless of whether you're building it yourself or whether you're hiring a developer. And I'm going to try and make it as broad as possible so that it's applicable, whether it's an MVP for your startup, for your idea, or if it's an internal tool like onboarding, HR, etc.
Sorry, I think your slides are not changing.
Oh.
We can see okay, there we go. Cool. And I've spotlit. All right, all good.
All good?
Good. Yep.
Maybe I should turn my video off. Hang on. Alrighty. So 3 things we'll go through today. Number 1, how to identify opportunities for going digital. Number 2, the tools that will enable digitization, my go-tos being Softr and Airtable. And then number 3, once you have your digital product, how do you align it with your business goals? We'll mostly be focusing on 1 and 3 and really skipping through or not actually building out anything in Softr Airtable. And the reason for this is because I know a lot of the no-code content out there in the world is focused around building. So how do I build a list? How do I build a list details block from that? How do I create an automation in Airtable? And I feel there's a missing piece around what happens before you decide to build and what happens after you decide to build. So for example, if you're an expert in selling clothes or if you're an expert in healthcare, you're probably asking questions like, I know my business really well, but I'm not sure what can be automated. Or now that I have this product, how do I actually use it to help me grow? I don't want it to just be this static thing that people use. Just making sure my slides have changed. Visualize your operations. Can you see that?
Yep.
Awesome. So when identifying opportunities for going digital, I always encourage people to visualize their operations. It gives you a good sense of what's really happening. Most non-technical people, when they prepare for a product to go online, they work with a wireframe only. So using Figma to see how circular the buttons are and how good the menu looks and what the screen experience is like. But that's not the core of what your product is. The product really is what happens next when someone clicks something or follows a process. What type of data are you collecting? How long is the onboarding experience, for example? And using a tool like Miro to help you see step by step what someone does really enables you to pinpoint the opportunities for digitization and also understand how your product is working and designed for growth and not just how it looks. So today we're going to go through a very practical example and very simplified version of how I'd help any client move their manual processes online. And so we're going to help the Dropout Bakes, who is a Fijian entrepreneur. She had to drop out of school to support her family, and now she bakes full time. And so we're going to move her customer onboarding process online. And regardless of whether you're an NYC health tech community, an Australian fintech startup, or a Fijian small business owner, the approach is largely the same. Of how to identify what it is that someone does now, what are their problems, how to bring it online, and then how to help them use the data, use the product to grow. So let me just share my screen, my Miro screen, and we'll get going. I love Miro too. I'm just looking at the comments. Awesome. So can everyone see my Miro screen?
See it.
Thank you. Alrighty. So it's always best to just start with a narrative, an open conversation, whether it is you talking to yourself as a solo business founder, talking to your team to understand the processes, or if you're a developer talking to a client, and asking really good open-ended questions and touching on the human experiences of what a process is like. So to help the Dropout Bakes and understand what it is she does when it comes to a customer onboarding process, I didn't ask, what is your onboarding process? I find that business owners tend to only think, maybe screen-wise or wireframe-wise. So you really need to dig in there and go through all of the iterations of what's possible. How do your customers place orders? What do you do when you receive an order? Under what circumstances do you not accept an order? And then also looking to add value around what's a headache for you currently and what would you rather be doing as your time to make the digitization as personal as possible, allowing yourself, allowing your clients to experience immediate value, and because your solution will be a little bit more targeted. And so through asking these really open-ended questions to people, I get a sense of what is it they do right now. And so you'd want to map out your current state of your product. And this is how I understood what the Dropout Bakes does. So currently, her clients contact her via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or email. She then goes back to them. So anything in yellow is something she does. She then goes back to them and asks for all of the information, such as, what is it you want to order? How many? Do you want to pick it up or should we drop it off? What's your payment method? Delivery date? Do you have any allergies? Etc., etc. The customer then comes back with all of the information, and I guess they keep looping in this circle until she has everything she wants. If the customer wants a product within 7 days from the request date, she goes back and she says, sorry, I don't deliver within 7 days, or I don't provide goods within 7 days of order. If they do want the product after 7 days, she then goes ahead and confirms the order with the customer. She writes down the order in her notebook or in Excel, whatever's nearby. She bakes, and then she provides the deliverables, whether that's pickup or delivery. And I've starred this here because this is the key thing that she's being paid for. If she bakes and provides her deliverables well, she's going to get more customers. So I note this as the key action for her business. And then once she's done, she sends a thank you message to her customer and crosses it off her notebook or just moves on in her Excel spreadsheet. So this is currently what her process, her customer acquisition process looks like. Now, how do I go about identifying what from here can be digitized? I really simplified the process. And so feel free to screenshot this, or you'll have the recording afterwards. But essentially what I do is I focus on three things. One is when somebody collects information, I know the digital version of that is using a form. So when she asks people for information, she could be digitally doing that via a form rather a message. Sending outbound messages, contacting people, the automated version of that is using a bot. For example, if you've got a Facebook business page set up, an Instagram business page set up, having that automated email respond, or automated bot respond, or having automated emails. And then every time she stores information somewhere in her spreadsheet or her notebook, the digital version, my favorite digital tools for this, Airtable as the spreadsheet, and then Softr as the UI for that spreadsheet, or the UI for that information. And again, this is these three things are the core actions for any business. So I'm currently working with a health tech community in New York. The founder has about 1,000 people who he's got on a spreadsheet, and he emails them when there are events, etc. And the key parts of his business are collecting information from his community members, getting their profile, getting whether they want to attend an event. That's all a form online. Sending outbound messages. So when he creates an event, he sends emails out manually out to everyone to say we have a new event. The digital version for that is an automated email. And then he keeps everyone in his spreadsheet. And so we're moving that from Excel to Airtable and then Softr. So these are applicable, and the core things, I would say, the most easy to digitize actions for any business, along with their digital versions. Then when we're looking at flows, oopsie, what have I done? Here we go. Then when we're identifying flows, how do things fit together? Any no-code tool, but especially Softr and Airtable, work on logic and the rule of if this, then that. So if something happens, then do something else. So in this case, for example, when the dropout bake receives an order, the logic that we would try and program in Airtable is if she receives an order and it is required within the 7 days, then send a sorry email. So this is looking at the part where she currently, if she receives an order within 7 days, she says, no, sorry, I can't do it. This is how I would use, I guess, logic language to then translate flows, etc., into Airtable. What I then do next is take the existing process that I've mapped out, and then for any action, just go back to these three things: collecting information, sending outbound messages, spreadsheet notes, and then putting down, writing down what am I doing and when. So when she's asking for information from her customers, she's sending an outbound message. And so this is something that can be digitized using an automated email. When the customer is providing her the information she's requesting information and collecting it. So this can be done via form rather than back and forth messages. And then at any time when she's storing information in her notebook, in Excel, etc., this can be done in Airtable with the front end in Softr. So it's really mapping out what she's doing and then assigning them to those three things. And when you've got those three things, you know what is the digital equivalent of it. And so I think this is a really easy way to get someone who's not sure of what can be digitized to just start thinking about what is the online alternative to something that they already do. So now Airtable and Softr, again, are my go-to tools, really easy to use. They're the tools that I've found that require minimal coding. And I say this as a developer. Most of the times when you want to build something very, very sophisticated, regardless of the no-code platform, you're going to need some level of code. On Softr, I find that it's HTML tags, CSS to maybe make the fonts look a little bit different than they come in the blocks, or with Bubble, you might need JavaScript, etc. But with Airtable and Softr, I found that you need the least amount of code to get something operative and still be very sophisticated. And so this is why I love using these two. And Airtable, just in a summary, will collect all of your information, perform actions on the information, and also visualizes your data. And by this, I'm referring to statistic summaries, etc., using the new interface components. And then Softr will turn anything in Airtable, or if Google Sheets is your go-to, it will do the same for Google Sheets, into a beautiful website. And then you can also create, read, update, and delete that information. So I'm just going to quickly whiz through a very condensed version of how we automated the sending of the outbound messages, collecting the forms, etc., in Airtable. And this will be very quick, and then what it would look like in Softr. So just for this onboarding process, and this is all test data, by the way, we've got a list of products. And so this normally sits in the Dropout Bake's head. She knows internally what she has, but it's really good to get it out on a spreadsheet. And then from her products, she's got all of the orders as well. And so in Airtable, you can create an order form, but we actually do that in Softr so that her users have a really nice experience. And then very quickly, these are some of the automations that we're going to be making. So when someone creates an order, we are going to, if it's not within, if they don't expect it within 7 days, we're going to send a confirmation to thank them for the order. If they do want it within 7 days, we send a sorry. We have a strict 7-day pre-order rule and cannot accommodate your order. So this automation itself is something that she was going back and forth, messaging people, hey, what is all of your information, etc. What is everything you want in your order? Now the order form is standardized, so she doesn't have to think about what to ask the person. And then the response also is automated. When she goes in and confirms, accepts the order, an automated email is sent to the person to say your order has been accepted. And a very cool thing about Airtable is that it will take all of the information in your tables and just provide very simple business statistics that I feel any business owner should know. So for example, now she knows she has 3 test orders. 2 of them were for Bombolini donuts. 1 of them was for cinnamon rolls. So over time, she'll know what was her most popular product, whether delivery or pickup methods are most popular, and then monthly growth. And so this is really cool. We have created the front end so that we will be creating the front end and the experience on Softr. So it takes everything that's in Airtable and gives her a shareable site. So all of the products in Airtable are here. Let's pretend we want Bombolini donuts. I think my internet's a little bit slow, so the order form's not popping up. So there's the standard order process. This was all previously manual, and very simply, you can see I've barely done any work in Airtable, but so much of a headache has already gone, which is really cool. So now we're looking at the future state. Once we've identified what she does manually, what she does currently, found the digital equivalents, we can see that once fully digitized, the process is a little bit different now. So now when someone contacts her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email, they will be automatically responded to by whether it's the Instagram bot, the Facebook bot, or an email that will contain a link to the website, which has the order form. And every order form has these standardized fields. If the person wants the order within 7 days, an automatic email is sent to reject the order. If it is within the 7 days, the Dropout Bakes can confirm the order, and it's just marking off a checkbox in her admin portal. A confirmation email is sent. She does the baking. Unfortunately, that can't be automated yet. Probably can be in some places in the world. She does the baking, provides the deliverables, and then she marks the order as complete, after which it sends a thank you email. And this can be sophisticated. You can add in a feedback form, add in things to share the photos to social, etc. It can be made really fun. And you can see I've got just a comparison between what the process was like before, which is here at the bottom, and what the process is like now. So everything in yellow is something that she was manually doing. And so what you can see now in the future state is that she only has 3 manual actions, and they are key actions. She decides whether she can take on the order or not. She does the cooking, and she delivers the order, or gets it sent on its way, and she marks it as complete. Whereas before, she had the element of going back and forth with the customer, confirming with the customer, writing their order down, storing it somewhere, sending them a thank you message, etc., etc. And so you can see we've sort of taken her time away from the things that usually stress people out the most, which is interacting with your customer, trying to get them from going to wanting to order something to actually paying for it, trying to respond on time, etc., etc. So now that we've theoretically digitized her onboarding process, what have we achieved, and how do we look at this from a business perspective? And so this is usually, I guess, some of my more startup experience to understand what is the data we're collecting, what are we doing now, and how can we grow from the product we have? So the first thing is, when you understand what it is you do and use this workflow method rather than using just wireframes only, and especially for the onboarding process, you can understand acquisition, meaning how do you acquire a customer? How do you get someone from being interested in your product or looking on your website to actually coming on board and paying and using what it is you do? And so it gives you an opportunity to look at that and reduce the amount of steps it takes to being interested to being a customer. So if we go back, for example, before, if I wanted to order from the Dropout Bakes, I'd have to contact her, maybe wait until she's awake for her to respond. And then she has to be on point, asking all the right questions in a nice way. And then so it has all those human elements. And so it might go well, it might not go well between when I contact her and until when I exactly order something and pay for it. But now when I message her, I immediately get the website. I can immediately self-serve. And so the time it takes for me to be interested in what she does and actually order is much less reduced, much more reduced, sorry. And is less likely to errors or things like her being awake, etc. So that's a really cool thing. Depending on what you're building, so adoption is extremely important. If it's an MVP, you want people to sign up and get to know your product as fast as possible. And so, for example, if someone signs up and you need to teach them how to use your product, it might take really long for them to actually start using it because they have to do so much learning. And so you've probably experienced this where you might have to watch tutorials before actually getting to know something, or products where you have to fill out a really long form and you give up, so you never sign up. These are really key things in terms of startup metrics to try and work on. A product that does onboarding really well is Airtable. So if any of you have signed up for Airtable recently, you'll know that when Airtable teaches you how to create a record, how to create columns, they're also helping you create your first record, create your columns. So while you're learning, you're creating, and once you're done, you're already sort of stuck to the product and you know how to use it. So that's a really key thing, reducing the barriers for acquiring a customer. Like I mentioned before, her efforts are now around key decisions and not so much going back and forth with customers, making sure she remembers to respond to them, etc. They're really around, can I take on this order, making the order, and getting it out there. Her customers receive immediate interaction, so they don't have to wait for her to be awake, etc. Scalability and shareability. So now if I contact her, I'll have her website and I can share that with my friends. Whereas before, I'd have to ask my friends to contact her, and they also would have to go back through this process of waiting for her to be awake, etc., etc. So scalability and shareability increases the awareness people have of what it is you do. And now that you've created this workflow, and I'm a big advocate for this workflow in case you can't tell already, you have a new asset for your business. And something that I come across a lot as a developer are non-technical founders who have hired developers. They know what they've created in terms of how it looks, so the wireframe and the website, but they're not sure of what's happening in the back end. And so when something goes wrong, they hire another developer. And again, things might look the same on the website, but they're not sure of what's been a Band-Aid fix, etc., etc. So when you know exactly what your product does step by step by step, it lets you be a little bit more involved in the technical build out of your product, what it's doing and when. So when you have new hires, whether that's someone in your team, whether it's finding your co-founder, whether it's hiring a new developer, you have this view and understanding of what exactly happens with your product. And I really advocate for any non-technical person to do this, because it's probably the easiest way to get to know how something is engineered. The next thing that's really cool about understanding what information you collect and when is that you can provide value adds based on that information, and what I call derived information. So for example, with a lot of the communities that I've created, they're only open to people who are over 18. So as part of the onboarding process, we ask people to just provide their birthday. And so this is more of a legal reason, I guess, for asking for their birthday. But something we do for fun now that we know what their birthday is we send a happy birthday email every year. And so in the case of the Dropout Bakes, some information that we can derive just based on the form that users fill out is around event types. So for example, if somebody orders 60 donuts and their event type is birthday, we can kind of assume that next year they probably want to order something around the same date. So we can create an Airtable automation that says, if this user has ordered something for a birthday, then in 1 year from now, send them an email which says, hey, last year you ordered something for a birthday. Would you like to order it again? So this is what I call derived information, when you take something and then infer more out of it. And I think this is really cool, personalized, fun way for people to think through their startup and what more they can do for their customers with the resources and the information they already have. And then the last thing is it enables data analysis. And so this is probably more applicable if you have an MVP or anything really with an onboarding process. So if you've probably heard of terms like acquisition, expansion, retention. Having a good process and knowing what data you collect when and where allows you to profile the users of your product and understand what they're doing with your product. So before, when the Dropout Bakes had a spreadsheet or a notebook of all of the orders, it was very difficult for her to perform a little bit of data analysis on it. But now that it's all in Airtable and she's got views and interface really helps with it, she can understand what types of people go from inquiring and filling out an order form to actually paying, so her acquisition. What types of people, how many people go from ordering things like donuts, which are cheap, to ordering things more expensive, like a custom cake or a custom wedding cake. So that's called expansion, when you've got someone who goes from your cheaper product to your more expensive products. And who are her most loyal customers? So people who have ordered multiple times. And this is something I actually think Softr does really well. So when you sign up for Softr, they have an onboarding form, and it's asked questions like, what are you going to use Softr for? What is your role in the team? Are you building this for a client or for yourself? They ask all of these user information. And what they're doing is they're trying to find your profile, and then they'll tie it to how much are you paying, and then your activities, so whether you go from the most basic plan to professional. And it then really shapes their go-to-market. So then understanding, okay, there are a lot of people who sign up from existing companies, and they start off with Softr in the free plan, and then they expand and they refer it to their friends. So we know that citizen developers are a good market for us. It's the same thing with even the most simple of businesses, and really good stats to know. So all in all, what we've covered is, number one, creating a workflow, identifying what it is you do right now. How do you find the digital equivalent? And so that's three things really. When you send outbound messages, those could be automated emails, bots, etc. When you collect information, that can be via a form. When you store information somewhere, that can be an Airtable and then interacted with beautifully through a Softr website. And once you go through the digitization process, there's so much you can learn from what you're doing, how your product is engineered, and what data you're collecting. So I hope this was helpful and really practical. There was nothing technical, because I really want everyone to be creating software. And so creating software is about a lot more. It's about being confident. It's not just about how do I do X in Softr. And so I hope you can start thinking about a few of these things right after the call even, and I hope it was helpful. So that's the end of my presentation. I will leave the last 20 minutes or so for questions or anything anyone has.
Okay, so my camera is working. All right. Thank you, Shenal. That was amazing. We do have questions from Sylvie, and if anyone else has questions, if you're comfortable coming on stage, and I can invite you on stage and help you ask the questions yourself with the wonderful speaker today. Sylvie's question is there a way to follow the client experience workflow? For example, if someone subscribes to a course, can I keep a record of the lessons completed, how many courses they did, not just purchased, and can it be done with automations?
Yes, definitely. Great question. And this is something that's really been enabled with Softr's one-click update. So for example, if you've got a user a page for a user that has all of the courses that they've signed up to, what you can do is create a little button and which says mark as complete. So when they mark it as complete, you'll be able to see what they've completed. But there's a little bit of a trust element there for them to be able to mark it as complete. I hope that's
Mhm.
so. Using the Softr one-click update, which is in the actions section of a list block and a list details block.
Yep, yep. And that's there is a lot of ways to be able to like deliver that user experience as well. Nathan says he uses the community.softr.com page a lot. So you'd see people posting similar questions or try to find out how people have found workarounds or workflows, sorry, that work with like different integrations. Feel free to join the community and ask any question there. Everyone's super friendly and helpful. Our experts are also in there at helping us solve our problems, troubleshooting one at a time, problems one at a time. And also, if you haven't joined the community.software.com page yet, please do. That's where we announce what's coming up. And we do have a giveaway coming up. So please check that out. We have another question from Olivier. For the Q&A, how do you deal with subscription and client expectations towards tools, keeping them on your account or moving them onto their own account? Any advice? So I guess this is more client management and product management as well.
Yes. So anything regarding money, signing up, consent, I always do it as early as possible. So as part of scoping a project, letting a client know this is what we'll be using, what the expected subscription costs are, in what cases might we need to upgrade, etc., and what the pricing would be then. Client expectation towards tools, that really varies on your client's attitude. I find that if they don't want to use no code or if they find things too expensive, you probably won't get to the stage where they're using, you as a developer for those particular tools. So yes, I keep everything upfront and as transparent as possible. Keeping them on your account plan or moving them onto their own account. So uh, I like to move them onto their own account. So with Softr, I'm not sure if anyone else is aware, but Softr has a really great affiliate program. You can go to, I think, is it PartnerStack, to sign up for that. And so, it's a great incentive to have your clients sign up with their own account. And the other reason why I do that is for them to, again, always be transparent and across what is being built. They can log in at any time and have a look at my progress. It keeps me accountable too. And when it comes to Airtable, same thing. And Airtable, we all use the same login because it costs a little bit extra per head to sign up multiple people to an Airtable account. So we keep it to one login.
Yep, that's awesome. That's true. Do we have any more questions from the audience? That everything's been very clear and very concise. So I think we will wrap up the Q&A, but just to remind everybody to join us after, if you're shy here, we can be a little more friendly in our little meet and greet after this workshop. Thank you, Shenal. Again, that was amazing. Your experience and your energy, albeit at 5:30 a.m., is a great kickoff to my week. I hope it was the same for our audience. If you'd like to get to know her work a bit more, can you tell us where we can find you?
You can literally find me in Fiji if anyone comes for a holiday, but otherwise, great question. So you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn, and then also, of course, on the Software Experts page. So let me put in my Twitter handle, which is Schnellio, and then on LinkedIn, my full name.
Awesome. Yes, we do have a software experts page if you need a little extra help getting your product to perfection. That's the first place you should go to. So if you'd like to get to know our speaker a little bit more and other members of our community, please join us at the meet and greet at this link. Let's all hang out for a little bit. And thanks again for joining us here at Softr. And I hope you have a great rest of your week.